and 2 touchdowns. I mean, CJ Stroud out threw him, but Lamar Jackson, his feet, man, win games on his own. Just with that. So, yeah, you got nothing to be ashamed about, man. Your team played really good this year. So,
this year, but
you're right. It was pretty much a good game for 3 quarters. This is the 4th quarter where the wheels really came undone for Houston, and I'm not surprised Baltimore. I actually picked Houston to win it because I was riding that train, man. I really was. But
I was excited. I was believing. I was all like, you know what? Jerry's right a lot of the time.
I was wrong about that. I was right for 3 quarters. So yeah. But anyway, congrats to Baltimore. They deserve to be there. They're the best team in football.
Yeah. And Baltimore showed what Baltimore is during that game. In the second half, they showed what they were made of, running and just playing some tough defense. What did you think about that game, Chris?
I think Houston just ran out of steam, and I think it was there was certainly an experience factor that came into play. You could see it. Yeah. What was interesting about it is going into half tied, them, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there was a field goal missed, right? Didn't Houston miss a field goal? That was really, really big. I know it's only 3 points and they wound up getting their asses blown out at the end. But
that's momentum.
But yeah, that 3 points was huge for a team like that, especially when you're dealing with a team like the Ravens, who not only were possibly rusty because they were off due to the bye and due to sitting people in week 18 and whatever, but you also have a Lamar Jackson who is very much questioning potentially his own abilities in the playoffs because he really hasn't had any success in the playoffs. So if you would have gone into halftime up by 3 in that situation, it definitely could have made a huge difference. But with that being said, I really think the Ravens would have won that game anyway. I picked the Texans just because of the line. I thought the Ravens would win, but the Texans would cover. I was wrong on both. I mean, I was wrong on the covering. I was right on the money line there. But but yeah, I thought the Ravens would win from the beginning. I just thought it would be way closer, and it was. It wasn't as bad as the score ended up being.
Right. Yeah.
The Houston Texans should be very, very pleased. If you're a fan of the Texans, you should be very pleased with your team, with the direction you're headed in. You got the quarterback, you've got the coach. You just need everybody to be healthy and get a little bit older, maybe add a piece here and there. Texans are on their way, man.
Yeah, and you're in a division that's very winnable again next year. Yeah. So unless Jacksonville finds what the hell they did wrong this year, but
well, they will. You're going to see. I think the next big. We've had Peyton and Tom. We had Joe Montana and Dan Marino, and we had all those rivalries over the decades. I think one of the next ones you're going to see is Trevor Lawrence and
CJ Stroud.
And CJ Stroud for sure.
Oh, wow.
I think if those two guys stay where they are, those two teams are going to be relevant for a very long time. Just like we have 2 of them now because we have Mahomes and Burrow too, which is a big rivalry. And now you also have Mahomes and Josh Allen, which is the next game. I'm sure one of the next games we're going to talk about. So,
I was going to say, they could have gone up 16-10 also. If you remember when the Texans got into the 30 and it was penalty after penalty after penalty that drove them back 20 yards, man.
Yeah, that was the age thing. That's what I was saying. That's the experience thing. That's exactly what that was. So
it was holding and it was illegal motion, and it was just silly penalties that drove
dude. I mean, nothing ruins a drive than offensive holding, dude. I mean, that's just the worst. Your first
delay of game
or 2nd and 20. I mean, it's just
false start.
Yeah, I mean, it just kills.
Just those silly things.
Yeah.
But
agreed.
I was going to ask, what do you think about Derrick Henry being picked up by the Texans?
I mean, is it necessary? Do you think it's necessary? I mean, I mean, paying a lot of money for a running back these days is not. I think Derrick Henry needs to go to Dallas. Honestly, I think that's where he needs to be. I think he fits perfect. Too. I think he fits perfect in Dallas. I think they need a bell cow type of back who can be strong, and he's got maybe a year or 2 left in those legs. I think Texans have a young vibe, and
that's true.
Sure, some experience helps, but it's not like Derrick Henry's like won a lot. You know what I mean? So
not like he's been in the
you know,
playoffs and all that.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. He's not one of those guys coming in. So I think they should draft a running back like in the later rounds or find one of these, there's a million running backs around. You don't need to be messing up, chemistry and whatnot. You got some star wide receivers that are you're gonna have to pay these guys eventually. So you don't want to set yourself up for, and I don't think Derrick Henry is a guy for a young team. I don't. I think he's more in the, Dallas Cowboys.
For a team that's contending now, definitely.
Random
Or the Giants or the Jets or.
Yeah, because the Titans pretty much ran them to the ground.
They're still they haven't closed the door on that, according to the Titan press. So with him coming back, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, new coach, they're gonna have a new quarterback.
Yeah.
So
and
who knows? Derrick Henry probably wants to go somewhere and try and win. I would imagine he'd want to go somewhere and try and win. So.
So we'll see what happens to him. The next.
Hey, I could use him McCaffrey, Derrick Henry backfield.
Oh, that's too much. That's too much. You have a. Don't they have someone else? Who's the backup to McCaffrey? He's really good.
Oh, Elijah Mitchell?
Yeah, Elijah Mitchell. Yeah, Mitchell's really good. Yeah.
I'm just
who the most impressive running back I saw all weekend is, and I'm sure I'm mentioning this game a second time now.
Yeah.
Did I call Isaiah Pacheco being the beast? I know I wasn't on last week, but I talked about him the week before. And then this past week, I watched him just absolutely run over Buffalo. It was crazy.
Has he been hurt for most of the season?
He's had a lot of nagging injuries over the past season.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, now he's the number one back because Jerry McKinnon's out for the season. So he's got his workload increased. So he's making the most of it. So.
Yeah. So the next game we're going to talk about is Saturday night's game, which was the 49ers and the Packers. Man, this was close, man. This was a really good game in the rain. Again, Green Bay seemed to have done themselves in. Again, it goes back to the experience and being there before, not being there before. What did you see in this game, Chris?
That's 100% what happened here. I mean, the Niners got lucky. They didn't play Dallas, honestly, because I think Dallas wouldn't have screwed this up. The Niners played a great game, don't get me wrong, and their defense played really, really well. But it was inexperience. Again, a lot of those false starts and just not being able to convert, and the defense clamped down on them. They weren't able to do anything else. And then finally the offense figured it out, and then it went from there. So it was a big inexperienced game as far as I saw.
Yeah. What about the rain issue?
I think the rain issue is a big deal for Brock Purdy. I think every time he plays in the rain, he has a hard time. So I think that hand size thing, even though people don't want to make a big thing about it, I think that plays into it, especially when you're dealing with the elements, rain, snow, cold, whatever. Thankfully, the weather forecast for this Sunday seems to be pretty clear and warm. So
and that defense did really do its job on Jordan Love, unfortunately. Jerry, how did you see this game? I know that you're a big 49er fan, and you have been for many, many years. So your team was going to the NFC Championship against Detroit. How did you see about the performance against Green Bay?
Green Bay take my hats off to them, and they played really well. I mean, they for 3 and almost 3/4 of a game, Green Bay had them beat. Now, you mentioned the inexperience of Brock Purdy. I'm going to mention two things. The Cleveland game, pouring down rain. He didn't have the best game, but the last-minute drive took them all the way down, and the kicker missed the fucking field goal. Yeah. This time in the rain, he didn't play well, but when he needed him on the last-minute drive, he did his job.
Yep, he did.
I mean, so
I agree with that. I just think it's a consistency thing where every time he plays in the elements, his numbers are shit. It's just
when you lose,
his accuracy is bad, and it's just not as good.
When you lose Deebo Samuel, that don't help. I mean, but luckily I think he's going to play this week. But San Francisco made the plays when they had to. I mean, good teams find a way to win, and they found a way to win. And I think it's actually the first time that Shanahan has won with the 49ers being down in the fourth quarter. He's like 1-30 now.
They were 0-30. Yep, they were 0-30. Yep,
that's unreal. That's unheard of.
Yep,
I
that's
mean,
that's crazy statistic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'll just say this, and I know we'll talk about it further, but if they play like that against Detroit, they're going to get boat raced. I'm just going to
Yeah.
tell you that right now.
but everybody was saying our kicker was going to be the problem, but it looks like a lot of kickers around the league had issues this week. But our kicker made a really key 53-yarder. So,
Yep.
53.
Yep.
Yeah.
but you know what? Green Bay's they're a team like Houston, man. They got a very bright future.
Yeah, especially
Great.
with a wide receiver core, man.
Yeah, I mean,
With
so
the
yeah,
rookies and second year guys.
No, they'll be really good. And what you got to see in this playoff is Matt LaFleur got to run his actual offense,
Yeah.
which is something he never got to do with Rodgers because Rodgers does his own thing. And as a Jets fan, I'm finding that out the hard way.
Yeah, and you know what? I think Lamar's going to get the MVP.
Well, he already won the MVP, I think.
Oh, did he already win it? They already announced it.
I
Okay,
think that's
I didn't
done,
know
right? Didn't that
I
happen
didn't know
already?
that. I didn't
I don't
hear
know.
anything about it, but I'm sure he's going to win it if he did
Yeah.
or not already.
I mean,
But
if he
man,
doesn't, then that's
Christian
something's wrong.
Christian McCaffrey should have been mentioned up there. He should have been in the top 3 at least. I mean, the guy's an incredible talent, man. So
Yeah, and he's been hiding out there in Carolina. Of course, we know about him because we follow football. So when the trade was announced to go to San Francisco, I was like, "Holy crap!"
yeah.
Okay, it hasn't been announced yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's going to happen.
I mean, if I ran behind Trent Williams, I could probably score 10, 12 touchdowns a year. So
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is probably like how we just said
I know,
before
I'm
when
just
we were
kidding.
talking about Derrick Henry. Running backs, I hate to say they're a dime a dozen because they're some of the toughest SOBs in the game.
Oh, yeah.
But when it's all said and done, it's not like it used to be. It's not like you have to have a bell cow back that can get you 1,100 yards in the year. But McCaffrey's that one guy that you would pay from that position. He's the one dude that's worth every single cent you pay him because he's so much more than just a guy out of the backfield. So he can't be stopped unless he's injured. That's the only time I've ever seen him be ineffective is when he's hurt.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and also his longevity seems like it's going to be a longevity of old school running backs that aren't just lasting 4 or 5 years. This guy might go farther than that, which he already has, and now, he is a big part of that San Francisco 49er offense.
For the most part, we got lucky with his injuries. He got hurt the Cleveland game before the bye, so he was able to rest a week there, and then he injured himself against the Washington, and then had 3 weeks off for the bye week, and they already won the division, so they didn't have to play against the Rams. So, it was luckily when he had his injuries, he had time to rest him.
Where
that helps out.
To rest. Oh yeah, big time. Also, I wanted to talk about Sunday's games. Sunday's games were very, very interesting. We're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm surprised that they made it that far, but they did. And they were playing in the divisional round against the Detroit Lions, who seems to be America's favorite right now. The lovable Lions.
I love that.
What do you think about that game, Jerry, for the Buccaneers and the Lions? It kind of looked like the Buccaneers were going to give them a run, and then the Lions started to pull away from the.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad game. I don't know what happened because Tampa Bay could not cover the middle of the field that game. There was receivers all game just wide open in the middle. I don't know if Detroit's game plan was that good or it was just faulty coaching. I don't know, but I mean, Detroit. They didn't play their greatest game per se. They dropped a lot of balls. Mayfield threw a couple picks, I know, but they did enough to win. Tampa, 9-8 team, beat Philadelphia last week. What more can you do,
Right.
But Mike Evans from Tampa Bay had like 150 yards. He dropped a few too, but that guy's going to be a monster free agent this year. He's going to get a massive contract and
From somewhere. Yeah.
You'll look awesome in Jets green.
If they got the money,
Yeah.
that's a good. I would love Aaron Rodgers and Mike Evans, man.
Along with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, that's a formidable staff. I have to just say, as far as the Tampa game goes, talent just won out when it was all said and done. Like talent just won out. It had nothing to do with game planning. Todd Bowles did a wonderful job with this team took them further than they could ever dream of. Baker's going to get paid. Probably. I would hope so. I think he's earned his spot in Tampa. You know, they can't, you know, maybe they'll draft one of these quarterbacks to kind of learn under Baker, but I think Baker did everything right. You know, he had the appropriate amount of chip on his shoulder this time around, not too much attitude. And, you know, they got into the playoffs, and let's face it, they ran into a dead horse in the Eagles. That team was dead. I mean, you and I could have fielded a team out there and probably did some damage against the Eagles right now. They're just dead. They're just a dead team. So I can't, you know, I give the Buccaneers credit for winning that game and for doing what they had to do to win that game. You can't just show up against an NFL team and expect to win. But at the end of the day, talent won out. Detroit's just a way more talented team, better coach team. They're at home. I really didn't expect much. Yeah, I really didn't expect much out of the Buccaneers in this one. It was closer than I expected it to be. So,
well, okay. Jerry, did you talk about this game already?
Yeah, I already did.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's close off the divisional round. We are talking about the Chiefs beating Buffalo in Buffalo, which we had chosen Buffalo to win at home. Jerry,
not me.
Scott Norwood
says, mythology says that the Indians, the Native Americans, the Chiefs were going to take out the Buffaloes.
I know it wasn't the Super Bowl, but Scott Norwood sitting at home saying, "Dude, I know what you're going through, brother."
He's like, "Yes, yes, I've been. They can stop talking about me now."
Yeah.
I mean, that poor guy is getting death threats. He had to get rid of all of his social media. It's just sad. I mean,
their fans need to relax.
I'm telling you, but you know, and you know, Mahomes. I mean, yeah, he had a subpar season, but once you get this guy in the playoffs, man, he's incredible. He'll find a way to win. You know, Travis Kelce. I love George Kittle, but I'll take Travis Kelce any day over George Kittle.
It's the greatest tight end of all time, Travis.
Yeah, I mean, just you know, when those guys in Pacheco, he's stepping his game up. I mean, so this game didn't surprise me. I mean, I thought, you know, when I was watching it, the Chiefs are going to win this game. I originally picked Buffalo, but watching it, I could tell it was a Chiefs day, and Taylor was happy. So when Taylor's happy, you know, they win.
We're all happy. It surprised the shit out of me. I got to be honest. Like, there was no way that I thought the Chiefs were going to win this game. I thought this was Buffalo's time. Like, I know I said, I joked, I picked via mythology because I thought Native Americans could take out Buffaloes. But in reality, on the field, I am shocked with the way Buffalo has been playing that like this was the time for them to get the Chiefs, because they're only going to retool next year. Even if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year, they're going to be better next year because they know they had a shit season. Like, they're literally coasting on Mahomes and Kelce and the defense. Like, that's not a Chiefs team like that. So this was the year. This was the time. This was a typical Buffalo choke job. Like, there was nothing more Buffalo Bills than this. Like, it was incredible to me to watch this happen. Look, I'm gonna pull back the fourth curtain a little bit so you can see. Like, I was in like tremendous pain on Sunday, so I went and took like a little nice marijuana gummy, and I was and I'm just sitting there watching this game, and I was like, whoop, I was in a different world, and I was watching it unfold, and I'm like, I cannot believe that this is happening. Like, I could not believe, even in my state of anything could happen, I could not believe that happened. And then when he missed the kick, I'm like, is this 1989, 1990? Right. What is happening here?
Wide right.
Oh my God, wide right.
And Travis Kelce was just wide open that whole fucking game. How do you not game plan for that guy to be that wide open? I mean, I guess it's hats off to Andy Reid, or
maybe it was rope-a-dope.
Man, I'm telling you, he was so wide open that whole game.
The whole season, he's like, I've been hurt. Oh, my hip. Oh, my knee. Oh, and he's like, all of a sudden he comes out, he's Superman again.
Right.
He had the power of his brother and Taylor up in the booth.
I guess
that would motivate me. Sorry. I guess I hear from some people. I'm sorry, Andy. I hear from some people that Buffalo's windows might be closed. What do you think about that? Is it getting there?
I mean, I think they don't have the right coach. If they get a good offensive coordinator, or the guy that they have now with a full season, maybe, as long as you have Josh Allen
Yeah, it's
your
true.
window's not totally closed. He's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in football. Like it's inarguable. The guy is Superman. And what happened on Sunday is that for the first half of the game, they played their game plan the way that they've been playing. And then the second half, all of a sudden it was Josh Allen save us. And it's been Buffalo's problem for 4 or 5 years now is Josh Allen save us. And granted, he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in football, but he can't do it by himself, guys. Like he needs
That's what I'm
help.
talking about.
And that's the problem. So what they need to do is just I don't know what the answer is. Sean McDermott is a he's a defensive coach first.
Yeah.
And if you notice the pattern, you have out of the 4 coaches left, you have 3 offensive coaches and 1 who maybe is a defensive coach, but he's more of a culture creator than anything. John Harbaugh is not like strictly a defensive guy. He's a culture creator. Like he has created what the Ravens are. Everything that the Ravens are is John Harbaugh. That's it.
That's
so
true.
that's what makes Jim Harbaugh great too.
Yeah.
So
Is that
So in short, no, I don't think the window is closed, but God, it went down a little bit. Like if it was wide open, then it's especially this year with the Chiefs being so like down. They should have beaten the Chiefs. This was the year. The only team you would have had to beat was the Ravens, who are formidable, not trying to put them down at all, but that's the only team you had. The Chiefs weren't even a problem. So they shouldn't have been.
Yeah, because the Chiefs came into it kind of second guessing themselves. They weren't that everyone thought that Buffalo was going to take it home, but then, like Jerry said, when the game started, you could tell that the Chiefs had the upper hand. Being coached by Andy Reid. Also.
Yeah, nobody in the first quarter. Nobody was stopping anybody until like the second quarter. I think Kansas City kind of figured out Buffalo a little bit, but
no, it's like I always hear the comparisons between the Chiefs, what they're doing now, and what the Patriots were doing for their 20 years of dominance. But what people look back now, they go, wow, the Patriots were dominant for 20 years. But in reality, there were a few years there where they were picked off. The Jets beat them one year. The Colts beat them one year. I think the Broncos beat them one year. Like there were certain years, like the Jets were the first team to beat them in Foxborough in the playoffs in 2009, 2010, something like that. And like, we were all shocked at that one, but it happens. Sometimes these teams have down years where they're still going to make the playoffs because they have the greatest quarterback on the planet, but they're pickable. Now, who knows? I mean, who knows if the Chiefs are going to win next week? I don't know. I think they're playing with house money now. So could you imagine Mahomes with house money? Holy shit.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And then,
the pressure's on Jackson as far as I'm concerned, more than it is Mahomes. So
absolutely. Nobody expected him to be there. Nobody expected. Patrick Mahomes is probably like, damn, we made it. We still made it. We sucked this year.
Yeah, I was scheduled to do a Subway commercial this week. I didn't think I was going to win.
Right? But the thing is that I'm like y'all are saying the Chiefs are going to retool just like the Patriots did, and during their down year, they went out there and they did what they had to do to keep themselves up there. And
yep, absolutely.
It all depends on salary cap problem issues too, to how much the money they got, this and that.
Well, that defense is going to take a hit because Chris Jones is expecting big money. He took a 1-year deal this year, and then he came out and showed how important he was.
Yeah,
they better pony up because they're going to need him.
Everything changed after he signed that contract, and he came back and he played, and he changed that whole defense around.
Absolutely, without question.
That's crazy that they only gave him a 1-year contract. They should be talking to him immediately and try to get.
hey, Chris, about last year. That was, we were just joking. I mean,
hey, let's let bygones be bygones.
Yeah, man. We're all good now, right? Like, you don't need $100 million from us, do you? Fuck.
How about 99?
Yeah.
But so we are now at the point of the championship games. We are talking about the Chiefs and Ravens, 49ers and Lions. Can you all believe it? We're down to 4 teams. Yeah. And it might be the Chiefs. It might be a Swift Bowl. Who knows? Which would be pretty cool. But so let's talk about these games. Let's talk about who's got the upper hand in the let's start off with let's go with Chiefs and Buffalo first.
Chiefs and Baltimore.
Sorry, Chiefs and Baltimore. I'm so
Yeah, it's
sorry
B.
about
It's the B thing. It's all good.
yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's see who has the upper hand instead of just saying, "Oh well, I think so and so is going to win." Let's break down these teams down to the bare knuckles. Let's start with quarterbacks. We are going to talk about Mahomes against Jackson.
Oh man.
Wow. I mean,
Mahomes against Jackson. I mean, MVPs all over the place.
Right? Right?
I
You go ahead, Jared.
Chris. Okay. They're two great quarterbacks. This is almost a push, but I'm going to give Mahomes a little bit more just for the experience. I mean, Lamar's going to have a lot of pressure on him, and if he can win this game, then all that shit, all that talk will be over with. I don't know if that bothers him or not. Probably not, but still, it's got to be a little on, a little bit in the back of his head about his lack of playoff success. But it's close. But I'll take Mahomes if I had to pick one.
Okay.
I mean, you got to give the guy with the 2 Super Bowl rings, the 3 appearances. He's never not played in an AFC championship game. Like, think about that for a second. Think about
6 straight years. Yeah.
Think about your entire career, and you've never been less than second best in your conference. That's insane.
That is.
And on top of that, this past week was the first time he ever had to play on the road, and he still won in a game that he was not even supposed to win. So you gotta give. I mean, Lamar is a close 1B, but you gotta give the edge to Patrick Mahomes in this. You gotta. I can't see how you don't, unless he was injured, and he's not. According to all reports, this is the first time he hasn't been hurt.
Wow.
Right.
In quite some time. So, I mean, I have to give Mahomes the edge. I have to.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go with Mahomes too. On the radio show, Let's Go with Tom Brady yesterday. Tom Brady said that Mahomes just kicks up a notch in the playoffs, and it's true, he does. So I'm going to pick Mahomes on this one because. He's been there before. He knows what it takes. He's got Kelsey. I'm pretty sure Andy Reid already has a great game plan for him. So I would give that one to Mahomes as well. Let me see here, and let's talk about the running backs next. Upper hand there, Ravens or the Chiefs?
I mean, Gus Edwards is a good running back. And I know they got Dalvin Cook, but I haven't really heard him, the Ravens I'm talking about, heard much from him so far. But I got to go with Kansas City because Pacheco is hot right now. So I definitely have to go with the Chiefs on this one as well.
As much as I love Pacheco, and he's my boy, he's my guy. Pacheco runs harder than anybody I've ever seen since Chris Ivory. Chris Ivory is the only guy I've ever seen just absolutely look for contact. Like, he could be in the open field going, where can I hit somebody? Like, with that being said, though, you have to include Lamar Jackson in the running game. And with Lamar, I mean, Mahomes is mobile and he can run, but like Jackson can blow a game up with his legs if he does it right. So
absolutely,
I have to give the edge to the Ravens in the running game. They're the number 1 running team in football. So without question.
Yeah. Well,
and by the way, I'm sorry, side note, the Baltimore Ravens look exactly like the Eagles did last year. That's exactly the team that's the greatest comp that they have, is they remind me so much of the Eagles last year. It's frightening. So
yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Chris and go with the Ravens here, just because of Lamar Jackson being that X factor in the run game, where there's game planning from the offensive side of the ball for his runs. And
I didn't take that in for account, so I'm going to go with Baltimore too, because I did not include Lamar in that category. So yeah,
I didn't think about that either. But then he can be a running back, and he can do that. So yeah, I will give him that too. Now we are about to talk about the receivers and tight ends. Who do y'all think would take that one? Jerry, let's start with you.
Well, tight end, I'm definitely Kelsey, but as a group, I'd have to go with the Ravens. I mean, Odell Beckham, Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers for the Ravens, man.
Yeah.
That's a pretty solid receiving core. And likely he's a pretty good tight end, so he's not a slacker himself.
And then on top of that, do we have Andrews coming back this week? Because he almost played last week.
Yeah.
So if Andrews comes back for the Ravens, I mean, that's a head and shoulders advantage. Because as great as Kelsey is, Kelsey's on the back end of his career. Andrews is almost as good. He's almost as good. It's like Kittle, Andrews, Kelsey. Those guys are like the best receiving tight ends in football. So, and then you have Likely as a good backup who's been really proving himself. It's head and shoulders to Ravens without question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think so too. And the young rookie receiver for Baltimore has really had a great.
Zay Flowers is a beast.
Yeah. I remember seeing him in week 1 against the Texans. He tore him up that week 1.
Now he's prone to the drop. He is prone to the big drop. So
speed, though, he does have that speed though.
He does, but he's prone to the drop. So that's important. That's a big thing. So
yeah, it is a big thing, but he's got that speed that can really do it. Offensive line, guys. Who's got the strongest one? Very important in this game because both have really good defenses. And we're talking about them wanting to run. Offensive line is so important. Chris, so you can start this one off.
I mean, I got to go with the Ravens. I don't really study offensive lines. It's not something that I really pay attention to, but I do pay attention to certain numbers, like when you're the number 1 running team in football. And granted, Lamar Jackson can probably be accountable for how many times he gets sacked, which isn't a lot. But at the end of the day, when you're the number 1 running team in football and your quarterback doesn't get sacked a lot, your offensive line's got to be doing something right. So on the flip side, Mahomes doesn't get touched a lot either. I think their offensive line is pretty solid too. If I could do a push, I would, but I won't. I'll just go with the statistics and say the Ravens are probably slight edge, maybe a little bit.
But Patrick Mahomes has really been pushed out of the pocket a lot this year. He's been really moved out of that pocket.
Yeah, he's been kind of antsy. That's true. Yeah. He can be accountable for his lack of sacks too. So that's fair. Yeah, that's true. So I would say the Ravens for sure.
Yeah, and Mahomes doesn't run like he used to. I remember his first couple of years, he was very elusive. Injuries and time had really gone to his legs. That's why he's the passer that he is. Yep. Jerry, which way are you going to go on the line?
Well, I know that Kansas City's starting guards are both questionable, so that's going to be a big issue. But, yeah, I got to go with the Ravens too, man. They got a solid freaking offensive line. Zittler, Moses, just great right side of the line. The running game is one of the best in the league. So, yeah, absolutely go with Baltimore.
All right, well, let's flip this to the other side of the ball, the defensive line. Jerry, Chiefs or Ravens on the defensive line?
Wow. I mean, Chris Jones is always a beast. Wow. It's a tough one. I mean, Broderick Washington raised hell against San Francisco. Wow. Damn. I don't know. This is a tough one, man.
It's always somebody different for that Ravens line, though.
From what I saw with Baltimore, I got to go with Baltimore again, man. I mean, against what they did to San Francisco. Of course, San Francisco doesn't have the best offensive line in the league, but still, I mean, they this is tough, but I'm going to take Baltimore by just an edge.
Yeah.
I mean, people do get in the backfield a lot with Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson's so quick, you can't catch the guy in elusive. So, man. Yeah, Baltimore.
Chris?
I would say, again, this is another situation where statistics would play out. Baltimore's amongst the best defenses in football. However, they don't have any game records on their defense, whereas Kansas City does. Kansas City has Chris Jones, who can completely – he's got Aaron Donald type ability where he can completely blow up a game. And granted, it would be him versus Lamar Jackson when it's all said and done. And in that battle, I would take Lamar Jackson. But in terms of comparing defenses, I give Kansas City a slight edge on this. The only difference would be like if Kansas City was playing at home, I would definitely give them the edge without question. But on On the road, I would still give them a slight edge.
All right. Linebacker crew. You go ahead and start this one, Chris, on the linebacker crew.
Oh no.
You want me to take it first?
Yeah, sure.
So,
Sure.
well,
Jerry.
I mean, I kind of disagree with Chris a little bit. They do have a few names in that defense, and one of them is freaking Roquan Smith. The dude's a beast.
I think I lost everybody.
You're
the
fine now.
Davian, they have names, but doesn't mean they're having great seasons. They had Jadeveon Clowney, who isn't what he used to be, but he still makes a difference every now and then. I mean, Kansas City, they got Willie Gay, but he's questionable. But yeah, again, I got to go with Baltimore with their linebackers, man.
Wow. Chris, can you hear us now? It's kind of freezing on us.
Where you go, Andy?
Huh?
Where you go then?
I am going to go with the linebacker core of the Ravens.
Yeah.
I think they're faster, that they could plug up more. But, the defensive coach, we'll get to the defensive coaches in a minute. But, yeah, I'm going to go with the Ravens for their linebacker core. Can you hear us now, Chris?
I don't know what's happening, but I've lost all of you.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can see you too. Okay,
Yeah, come back.
He'll come back in. So let's keep moving on. Let's go to the
Secondary.
Secondary.
Again.
Raven, or the
sorry,
Chiefs?
Andy. The Chiefs have, they got Justin Reed, a great safety, and they have L'Jarius Sneed, great cornerback. The Ravens have freaking, Marlon Humphrey, awesome freaking corner.
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton, Brandon Stephen, all those guys. Marcus Williams. I think all four of them are Pro Bowl bound. So,
Wow. Yeah.
I think the with Kansas City, I think they're they got to the quarterback a little bit quicker, so the corners didn't have to really play great.
Right.
And there were a few times where they got burnt bad. So, this is a no-brainer. The only no-brainer, and that's Baltimore, definitely.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm going to go with them too. I think I'm going to go with Baltimore as a whole defensive front. Just flyers, man, and they can just wreck a game and wreck a whole offensive scheme. So let's get to the coaching for that game. The coaching is very important, and the coaching is good on both sides.
Ooh, man.
So what do you think?
Andy? I gotta take Andy Reid because he's been there every year and he does it every year. It seems. If he was with Philadelphia, he went to 4 or 5 straight NFC Championship games when he was with Philadelphia. So I'm nothing against John Harbaugh, but the Ravens seem to be a once in every 5 or 6 years team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just the way they've been through there. The Kansas City's always there.
Always
and
there.
You got to give Andy Reid, the nod on that one.
And they've also got Spags on the DC side, which is a great in-game changer. He really adjusts there. I sent Chris another invite. So who's going to win this game, Jerry?
Ooh. I think I'm going to agree with the Super Bowl logo this year and go with Baltimore in a good one. I'm looking maybe a 31-28 game. It might come down to the field goal kicker, which Baltimore's got a great fucking kicker. He's like the best.
He's got to be one of the best of all time.
So if it comes down to the kicking game, definitely take Baltimore, which I think it will. I think Baltimore by a field goal.
I forgot to cover the special teams.
That's all right. And
if you just need to know about about the field goal kicker for the Ravens, and there you go.
Yeah.
That's all that you need to know. So hopefully Chris will come back to us. So let's flip the coin, man. Let's go to the NFC side. Let's break them down, just like we did the American League. Chris, can you hear us now?
Nope.
Let me see here. Let me see if I can figure something out here. I don't know what I can do with that. I think it's connection. So let's move on until Chris can join us and hear us, and we'll be able to hear him. All right. So NFC, we are talking about the 49ers against the Lions. The Lions are visiting team to Levi's Field. So quarterback, we are talking about Purdy versus
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
You know, it's not like Jared Goff has a ton of playoff experience being in Detroit the last few years.
No, of course.
Purdy's 3-1 in the playoffs, and the only game he lost was that game he got hurt in the first quarter. They're at home. You know what? I am tired of the Brock Purdy hate. I'm going to say Brock Purdy is a better quarterback right now than Jared Goff. I'm not saying it because I'm a fan.
Right. Oh well.
I mean,
Purdy's been getting a lot of negative, and I really
everywhere.
I really think it's jealousy. I really, really do. I really do, because he's definitely a top 10. Might even be a top 5. How can you deny somebody a quarterback that has gone this far again?
Because he's not 6'5". He's not he's kind of a nerd looking, and he's got a weird name, and they don't want him to be the face of the NFL. That's a big deal.
And,
one of the faces.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I've never thought about that. But then they say, oh, well, he's got all these weapons. Well, every quarterback
has them.
I mean,
I know.
You think of Aikman with Irvin and Novacek and Emmitt Smith. You think of Montana with his receiving core. I mean, that's what makes a quarterback team is the team.
Exactly. With the exception of Brady, maybe. Brady was a rare case, but yeah. I mean, you need weapons around.
He's moving around. Chris, can you hear us now?
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I live in the middle of fucking nowhere, and sometimes ghosts come and mess with the internet. I don't know.
All right. What's your pick for the Ravens Chiefs game? What's your score on that one?
God, I don't know, man.
It's gonna be a good game. It is.
I think
I said 31-28.
I think the Ravens get over the hump, and it's like a 30-24 or 30-27 or something really close. It's going to be a last possession, and it's either going to be Lamar coming up huge, or it's going to be like Mahomes at the last minute, trying to get there. So,
I mean, Justin Tucker can almost hit from 70. So
yeah.
Depends on the weather there too, of course.
Yeah. Truth.
So we've already moved on to the NFC. We're just at the quarterbacks. So who's your pick? Pick a quarterback, Goff or Purdy?
I mean, it kind of goes back to the same thing we said between Mahomes and Jackson, in the sense that Goff has been to a Super Bowl. Goff has played in multiple big time playoff games.
He was in the Super Bowl. You're right.
Yeah. They lost to the Patriots.
Yeah.
In like the lowest scoring Super Bowl probably I've ever watched, for sure. But yeah, he's been there, and he's been nothing but tremendous all year. The only thing about this particular game is Detroit on the road is way different than Detroit at home. Mm-hmm. And but weather won't be a factor. So I think Goff has the edge on quarterback. Brock Purdy's good and all, but he's he has some playoff experience, but in the one championship game he got to play in, he got knocked out fairly early. So I don't know. He needs to prove himself under that adversity. So let's see what happens.
But when is it? When is enough with Purdy? If he wins the Super Bowl, is the talk and all that bullshit over with?
Oh, no. Well, okay. So he's a great quarterback. I'm not trying to discount him. You're just having me compare him to another quarterback who is also also a lot like Brock Purdy, underappreciated. Jared Goff is a very underappreciated quarterback. He was run out of LA, considered to be garbage. And then I could make an argument that he was one of the top 5 quarterbacks in football this year. Like, the guy was tremendous all year. So he's very similar to when does it end with Jared Goff? If he wins the Super Bowl this year or whatever, or brings Detroit to the Super Bowl, is he going to get the consideration that he deserves? So Brock Purdy's only been in the league 2 years.
But why
And
is it? We were talking about this while you were having trouble. What is it with these people and not believing in Brock Purdy? Sports writers. I mean, players seem to believe in him from other teams. I mean, except for Michael Parsons.
He literally, there's nothing special about him. Like, it's that simple. Like you look at all the other quarterbacks in the league, even Tom Brady, who was drafted late in the draft, but Tom Brady was what, 6'4", 6'5"? He's a fucking giant. Right. And then on top of that, he came from a good system in Michigan. So even when you're comparing him to other quarterbacks who were drafted late in the game, Brock Purdy is small comparatively to other quarterbacks. He's got the small hand issue, which was a thing.
Russell Wilson.
And he was literally drafted. Yeah, but here's the difference though. Russell Wilson has escapability. Russell Wilson can run for 40 yards and without a beat, whereas Brock Purdy, he's a little mobile. He's more mobile than, like, let's say Tom Brady or Dan Marino or Peyton Manning, but he's not as mobile as like Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Russell Wilson. So like he's somewhere in the middle. There's just nothing special about him. The only special that I hear about him all the time from everybody is that he goes through progressions quicker than most people. So he reminds me of a better Chad Pennington. Like Chad Pennington was a real good quarterback. Chad Pennington hear me out. Chad Pennington was a real good quarterback for a few years, right? He played well for the Jets. He won playoff games for the Jets. He won playoff games for the Dolphins. He did okay, but his problem was that he was small. He wasn't incredibly mobile, but he was super smart. And he was able to go through progressions really quickly. He had a rag arm, whereas Brock Purdy does not. Brock Purdy has a much better arm. And ask this question, ask this of yourself and then answer it yourself. If you put Brock Purdy on the New York Jets this year, is he as good as he is right now?
See, that's another thing we're talking about. Every great quarterback, with the exception of Tom Brady, has had great support players around him. Aikman, Marino had the Clayton and Duper connection. I mean,
okay,
all these quarterbacks.
You're talking about all-timers. Okay, now think of it this way: what made C.J. Stroud so great this year? He had a lot of things he did himself, but what was the determining factor? Or Jordan Love, which we just watched.
Accurate arm.
Talking about
very accurate.
His receiver core. They both have dynamic young receivers, right? So part of what you're saying is true, but on the flip side, it's not always that. See, CJ Stroud, he throws probably the most accurate ball I've ever seen a rookie throw. The guy's insane. Like, I don't know how he makes the throws he makes, but he does. Yeah. So you're partially right. There is systems in place. And make no mistake, Tom Brady had a great system too. You got to remember, who was his running back when he started? Curtis Martin, Hall of Famer. Right? He had Corey Dillon as his running back. He had, he had good wide receivers. They just weren't top of the line wide receivers. And yes, he's probably helped them along. So yes, that is part of it. But again, when you're trying to compare, like Lamar Jackson would be better with the Jets than Brock Purdy would be. Right? Can we agree on that?
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say, I won't say Purdy's better than Lamar Jackson to begin with. So,
but so I think what the general consensus is that nobody thinks Brock Purdy's shit. Like there's a lot of people that do. No, there's a lot of people that think he's shit. I have not heard that. I have not heard that.
Oh, Nick Wright. You ever listen to fucking Nick Wright? That guy is just brutal with them, dude.
Oh yeah, Nick Wright. Yeah, but most of the people I listen to, I've gotten to the point where Brock Purdy has proven he can win. He's proven he can play in this league. It's just a matter of, is he a top 10 quarterback or is he a 10 to 15? Or is he a 15 to 20? You know what I mean? Is he as good as Kirk Cousins? Is he as good as Dak Prescott?
But what do you go by? Do you go by stats? If it's stats, he's a top 5 quarterback this year. I mean,
you can't
number one vote getter in Pro Bowl by the fans. I mean, he's got something people like.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, of course they do. He's an underdog. People like him because he's an underdog. But you can't go strictly by stats either, because look, like when you're throwing to 3 of the most dynamic receivers in football, Kittle, Ayuk, and Samuel, not to mention the fact that you have Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. If you're not in the top 5 in quarterback rating, if you're not in the top 5 of quarterback yardage, if you're not, then you're doing something severely wrong. So
Yeah, but they need that quarterback that they have to do this.
Garoppolo had the same players and couldn't do it.
And he went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was the
And he
the
lost
first.
to Mahomes. And
Yeah.
he lost to Mahomes because of bad play calling. Again, like that wasn't Garoppolo's fault. It's not like he threw 4 picks in the second half.
Well,
You know,
he threw 2.
Yeah, but again, he lost to Mahomes. Okay, like let's be fair. If he lost to like Joe Flacco in the decline of his career, then I could be like, okay, well that guy shit the bed, but he didn't. Like it wasn't his fault. I mean, it was bad play calling. It was shit plays. That second half, the Niners should have won that. Just like Shanahan relived his own nightmare.
Yeah,
you know,
Richard Sherman got old in that second half. He got burnt big time.
Yeah,
in that second
absolutely, without question. That defense couldn't handle Mahomes. It was Mahomes' time. That's what it was. And again, I'll be the first person to say that I think the jury's still out on Purdy. I think if Purdy comes out and he either loses this game or he loses the Super Bowl, it'll be depending on how he performs. You know, if he goes out and has a Tom Brady type game when they lost to the Eagles and he throws for like 300 yards or like 250 or something like that with a good accuracy, not a lot of interceptions, whatever, you know, it could be that thing where, well, he's good, but he doesn't make the big play. It's like Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is the same thing. No one on any great, by any metric would you ever say Kirk Cousins is a bad quarterback?
Absolutely not.
No, he's
But
not.
he's not dynamic. He's not dynamic. Dak Prescott, again, not a bad quarterback, but he's not dynamic. So is Brock Purdy dynamic? I think that's what we need to see. He hasn't had to win a game yet. He really hasn't had to do it yet. This last week, that was the first time, possibly.
No. The Cleveland game, he had them all set up in that shitty weather and the field goal missed the kick.
Right, but he played like shit the rest of the game. Like that's the point. Like the point is that the Niners shouldn't have been in the position they were in against the Packers this week.
I agree.
But they were. And
I agree.
part of that is because of the way Purdy played, you know, and of course he lost one of his receivers. But again, if every time he loses one of his weapons, he becomes less dynamic and less good, what does that tell you?
Well, I mean, if Aikman loses Michael Irvin, of course they're going to be.
But okay, but let's do another comp. Look what happens with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has a rookie, Zay Flowers. He's a rookie. He lost his best wide receiver, which is Mark Andrews. For months, he's lost Mark Andrews. He's had, I'm not joking when I tell you, 4 different running backs this year.
Yeah, yes.
And his best wide receiver is Odell Beckham Jr., probably, and he barely touches the ball. So what I'm saying is that Lamar Jackson can win with anybody. Okay, these are guys that can win with anybody. Can Brock Purdy be that guy? We don't know yet. Okay, that's just what it comes down to.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so running backs. There was a long time Brock Purdy.
Well, he's the big story there, honestly. Running back is an open and shut case. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, Detroit's got some good ones in Montgomery and Gibbs, but come on, you got to give
tremendous.
You got to get a nod to McCaffrey.
I mean, you got to give it to McCaffrey and Mitchell, absolutely, without question. I mean, McCaffrey's a Hall of Famer on the field, you know. Yeah. So,
wide receivers and tight ends, Jerry.
I mean, San Francisco, obviously. Amon St. Brown is a really good receiver, but I don't think they have a really great second receiver. Sam Laporte is good, but he's banged up big time.
He is banged up. They have Zach Ertz now too.
Yeah, and I don't know if how many touches he's going to get. Is he going to be ready? You know what I mean? But just on that, you know, it also depends if Debo plays or not. He's not 100% sure. But if they're all healthy, I got to go with San Francisco on that.
And I just want to say this because I've been thinking about this all week long, and I've been trying to say it correctly. Right now, San Francisco 49ers have all-stars at all the offensive scoring positions.
But, yeah, they have 3 Hall of Famers.
Right. But the Lions have stars in the making in those positions.
Absolutely. Well, what you have here between the line, what you have here, this is why I think this is going to be possibly the best game of the entire year is the Lions and the Niners. Because what you have here is failure to communicate. No, what you have here is you have the 49ers who have hands down the best roster in football and have all year. And my story with them has always been until the Ravens game, if the Niners are healthy, nobody can beat them, period. Now I've amended that. If the Niners are healthy, the Ravens can beat them. But but other than the Ravens, I can't picture anybody else beating them. However, you have an unknown commodity like the Detroit Lions right now, who you have, St. Brown, who's a tremendous talent. You have Goff, who is itchy. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He wants to win. He wants to be that guy. You have a head coach who, Dan Campbell, culture creator, another guy, super young, super new guy, super hype. Like he's, you have a defense that's young. You have a defense that's young. You have a game wrecker on the defense, who can completely take over a game. So you have all these young, hungry guys, and you have a city in Detroit that hasn't won in forever. Like you just have everything on this one side that's like hungry, and then you have the Niners, who have been to the Super Bowl recently, who have been to NFC Championship games the past 3 years in a row. So something's got to give here.
Yeah. So let's get to the offensive line. The offensive line, man, that offensive line for the Lions, they can move some shit around, man.
Best in football.
There's some big dudes.
Yeah, there's no denying that Trent Williams is the best lineman in football, but as a group, it's definitely the Detroit Lions. So
I agree.
Sewell, Graham Glasgow. I mean, those are all pros. I think you got 3 Pro Bowlers, I think, on that offensive line. So.
Yeah, no, that offensive line is the best in football, hands down.
Absolutely.
And those are some pretty big dudes, man.
I mean, God get touched almost never. So
yeah. So let's get to the other side of the ball. Let's get to the flip side, the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line for the 49ers against the Lions. What do you think, Chris?
I mean, you got a few game wreckers on the Niners line there. You got Chase Young, you got Bosa, you got you got some guys in the linebacker, you got friggin' Warner. That defense is stacked. That defense is hella stacked. And on the flip side, you also have a game wrecker with Hutchinson.
Yeah.
And then the rest of that line, I forget the name of the other person who's a factor on that line. But
Kaminsky, John Kaminsky. I think that's it. Yeah.
And I think you have to give the edge to the Niners here, though, because they just have game wreckers all over the field. Again, you probably have 4 or 5 Hall of Famers on the Niners team across the board, on both offense and defense. So it's hard to pick any roster over that one. So quarterback, that's the only place where the Niners are potentially outmanned, potentially.
So I've already got your answer for the linebacker core. It sounds like you would go with San Fran on that one.
Without question.
Jerry, which way are you going to go with that?
I mean, no question, Aiden Hutchinson's a beast. The Niners are going to have to – I think, him and Trent Williams is going to be an awesome freaking matchup this week. I'm sure they'll move Hutchinson around. They won't make him face Trent Williams. But, Bosa, he hasn't had the stat year, but he's always in the backfield causing issues. And these trades they made, those guys have got to step. Randy Gregory, Chase Young, these guys have not been, as great as they have been throughout the years. They need to step up their game this week. But with that being said, with Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrove, great run stoppers. I mean, it's hard to run on them. I think the Packers were the first team in 18 or 19 games to have a 100-yard rusher. So definitely got to go with the 49ers defensive line. Nice.
Secondary, guys.
Well, linebackers too. I mean, Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. I mean,
And this is where the Lions are very weak, is the secondary. Like that's the place where they have to address next year, is the secondary. If I were the Jets, I would be on the phone with the Lions, looking to trade Sauce Gardner. If I'm being honest with you. Oh my God, yes. Wow. I would actually. I'm looking for pieces, man. I'm looking for pieces.
Gotcha.
They have other players, but anyway, I don't want to get in on the Jets. But yes, this is where the Lions are weak. This is where the Niners definitely have an advantage. They have an advantage all over the field, in my opinion, except for quarterback. But this is a glaring weakness for the Lions. So
the Niners have Javarius Ward, who's a shutdown corner, but their second corner has been really, really suspect. It's been a commission, and that's a big weakness. And I'm sure Goff is going to try to exploit that. But we got a great young safety in Jair Brown, who's replacing Tuanella Hufunga, who what a great player this guy was going to end up being until he got hurt this year. But yeah, I mean, I have to still give the 49ers the advantage in the secondary. You know,
Special teams kind of tough on the kickers for both teams. So which way are you going to go with special teams, Jerry?
well, I mean, you know, you got a rookie kicker for San Francisco, so you really can't, you know, say yeah. I mean, he made a big kick last week, sure, but Michael Badgley, I don't think he's been around that long either as a kicker. But I know he's been good this year. But just based on that, I have to go with Detroit on their kicker. I think we got the advantage on punter. I think Mitch Wisnowski is one of the best punters in the league. I don't know much about returners and shit like that. That seems to be a lost art in football nowadays.
Yeah, it really is. They're just,
although we've seen some run backs like change the momentum of games. Like,
true. Yeah.
All playoffs so far. So
Yeah.
it's been a little crazy. I mean, I don't know. I don't. Unless your name is Justin Tucker, I don't really pay attention.
Right, I
Or
agree.
Greg Zuerlein, like Greg Zuerlein for the Jets. It's like the only bright spot they had this year, defense and kicker. So yeah, I mean, I guess the Lions. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's going to come down to that. I really don't. I think this game is not going to come down to a kick.
all right. Coaching, guys, coaching. You know, we got one that's so X's and O's, and we've got the other one that kind of coaches off of emotions, and the team feeds off of that. So, Jerry.
Jerry, go ahead.
I mean, until Shanahan wins the big one, I'm not going to say he's the best coach in the in the NFL. I mean, he's very, very good coach. I mean, he's got more experience in the playoffs, so maybe I'll give him a little bit more of an advantage, but not much. I think these are both great coaches, man. So they're both going to be prepared, and they're both going to have their teams ready.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right here, Dan Campbell scares the hell out of me in this game. There's a few reasons why. One, on the positive, I think he will have his team so fucking hype to play this game, like ready, like, oh, nobody's giving us a chance. Nobody, like, he's that guy. Okay, he's that guy. So from an emotional standpoint, that's awesome. But I can certainly see a few calls going against him and him losing his fucking head. I can also see him seizing up with either having to go with this reputation of being this go for it, edgy, type of coach, and then doing it to a fault again, like he did against the Cowboys in the biggest game of his life, or not doing it, playing too conservatively because he's afraid he's going to do that. This is the dilemma of a brand new coach in this situation. So obviously the edge has to go to Shanahan because he's coached in 2 Super Bowls, one as a head coach, one as an offensive coordinator. He has absolutely seen what not to do in this situation twice now. Yeah. So you gotta give the edge to Shanahan, even if Dan Campbell turns out to be an all-time coach, which he's well on his way to doing. He's a wonderful coach. This is not a knock on him. It's just he's such a huge question mark in this game that as a bettor, as a person who gambles, he scares the shit out of me in this game for on both ways, because he can wreck this game for the Niners or he can wreck this game for the Lions. Right. Could you imagine going for 2? Yeah. Down by 1 in the last play of the NFC Championship to go to the Super Bowl? Could you see it now? Holy shit.
But do you live by the sword and die by the sword, coach? That's how he coaches, man. You never know.
And also Shanahan's ready to pounce on that.
Well, Shanahan's known to be conservative. So
I'm not a God guy, but I pray for that scenario. I do. I pray for it just because I want to hear the story. I want to see it for it. If he doesn't, I just want to see the whole thing. I want to see it.
Yeah. Man, that would be such a big call. And
let me tell you, if that happens, I will then
what he's going to do.
Well, if that does happen, then I will believe that the NFL is rigged. That's what it'll come down to.
That's a big set of balls to do that scenario, dude. Big time.
Then I'll be like, they completely wrote this script. There's no way this happens in real life. No way.
The biggest set of balls in playoff history, I think, was Sean Payton's onside kick when he's with the Saints. But other than that, Dan Campbell going for a freaking 2-point conversion with the game on the line. Oh,
that's what I mean. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, like going for an onside kick coming out of the half.
Yeah.
You have a whole half to make up for that. This is
True,
like the
too, yeah.
last play, dude. Like, or like the last minute of the game. Like, it's crazy.
That is true. Yep.
Yeah.
Man.
And the onside kick, that was a big surprise. Going for it by Campbell, that's expected.
Yeah.
You know,
True.
Is it though?
do
Is
that.
it? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it expected? I don't know.
But Shanahan has never attempted a fake punt or a fake punt or an onside kick unless it's late in the game where they have to. I wonder if
Right.
you'll change that up somehow.
Well, I mean, I think Shanahan just is confident in his offense because that's what he does, and they're normally good. Like one of the things the Niners normally do well is score points. That's usually not a problem.
Yeah.
And
So,
all that's X's and O's. That's what all that is.
yep.
All the players knowing exactly where to be and what to do. You know, and
All right. So what's the score is going to be, man?
all right, so who's going to win this one, guys?
I can see this one being 31-17 Niners, 31-20, something like that. I can see it being like really nip and tuck until like the fourth quarter, and then maybe there's a turnover, or maybe there's just a 3 and out, or something happens with the Lions where they stall and then they go down by 10 or 14, something like that. I don't think the Niners will blow them out. I just think I can't imagine them losing this game at home unless Debo comes out and he's not really, well, or
Right.
somebody gets hurt, but barring any of that type of thing, I can't see the Niners losing this game.
Jerry.
Yeah, I have the Niners winning 31-21. I agree with Chris. I think it's going to be close into the fourth quarter. I think Nick Bosa is going to make his presence known somehow with his great offensive line in Detroit. He has to.
Those are big dudes, man.
I think their defensive line will step up. I think they're going to get to Goff a little bit. And Goff has known to be rattled before if you get
big time. Yeah.
31-21, it'll be close to the fourth quarter.
Half my family live in Flint, Michigan, and I know that some of them watch this show as well. And I did tell you, Jerry, at the beginning of the season, Detroit was going to have an interesting year this year, and I did say they were going to win.
Are you going to do it? Are you going
Everybody,
to do it?
everybody I know picked them to win the division. So I mean,
yeah. Now, will they do it? I don't know, but I will root for Detroit.
Oh, I'm definitely rooting for Detroit. Sorry, Jerry.
No, I get it, dude.
That's just for the fun of it, That's just for the fun.
Hey, I got to say is if Detroit wasn't playing San Francisco, I would absolutely fucking root for them because I think they're a great story.
Every year the Jets don't do well. Which is most. I pick an alternate team about mid-season, and Detroit's been my team since about mid-season, especially when Burrow went down, because Cincinnati's been my team the past 3 years. So,
yeah.
Because in the beginning of the season, I picked Cincinnati and Dallas were my Super Bowl picks, and that didn't work out.
No, I was Cincinnati and San Francisco. Yeah.
Hey,
I picked San Fran and Cincy as well.
But according to the logo, it's going to be the Ravens in San Francisco.
Yeah.
According to the color scheme, right, guys? But
So who you picking, Andy? Come on, make the pick.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to pick Detroit. I want to pick Detroit.
Hell yeah! What's the score?
Score, dude. It's going to be a squeaker. It's going to be 28-25.
25. That's a good score. Wow.
It's going to. They're going to squeak it out by 3. It's going to be a good game. I really do believe that in my bones. All right, guys. Thank you so much for all of your time and all of your expertise and love for the game. Thank you so much. And
be
sure to check out the picks that actually matter on my channel. They post on Friday night or Saturday morning. It is mythology versus reality. It's where I pick the mascots. So be sure to check that out because it's always a good time. We went 3-1 last week. So there you go.
Yeah. It's always a good time. He's going to be doing the mascots and give you reasons why the mascots will beat the other mascots.
Absolutely. We break it down. We break it down for real in a 3-minute package. That's it.
Yeah. And it's always fun when you think about elves and all different types of.
Damn, elves screwed me this time around.
And next week we'll be talking about the Super Bowl, man.
The Super Bowl. We are going to skip next week, just like football does.
Yeah.
And we will hit you all back up during media week. Which is
we're going to do next week, right? the NFC the championship games. We're going next Tuesday, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
We don't skip because we got to talk about the championship and then do the same breakdown for the Super Bowl. So
Yep.
thank you.
And
very
then
much.
we skip a week.
Then we skip a week.
Yeah. All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much. Also watch our new, listen to our new podcast for me and Jerry and Kate. We are doing 3 Shots Down. We might have another episode up later on this week about Sid Barrett. And also watch Jerry on the BS Sessions with Jerry and Mark. And what do you got going on? You got a new video of music coming on the Redbeard videos on YouTube?
So Redbeard videos, we have videos every Thursday and Saturday. We'll have a bunch of, like I said, I have my mythology versus reality picks for this week. And then the Super Bowl week, I'm going to do one. And then we'll take a break from that until the NHL and the NBA playoffs. And then I will also have a series of videos on my TikTok, which is also Redbeard videos, called 1 Minute Albums, and my live stream start in February. So
great. And as y'all know who follow our sports, after football we'll start doing our baseball podcast, Crack the Bat and Pop the Mitt. We'll be back for season 3, and y'all are more than welcome to join us. I've got a co-host for that by the name of Brad Dahl. He's a wonderful co-host.
He's a cool dude, yeah. I'll guest every now and then. I mean, I'm kind of excited about my Reds. I think they're not going to be stinkers anymore. So we'll see how their season goes.
Sometimes my cousin joins us as well. He's the other co-host for that show. So we got a lot of great things going on here with me and my friends. So thank y'all so much. Y'all enjoy the games coming up. And then let's see who goes to the Super Bowl after this weekend.
Super
Bowl. Go Niners.
Better answer. It might be a Super Bowl or a Swift Bowl. We don't know yet. So,
I'll take a Swift Bowl. Hey, here's one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
Kansas City goes to the Super Bowl. Does Taylor Swift come out and guest in halftime?
No,
you don't think so?
No.
Okay.
I actually just recently I was wondering why Taylor Swift wouldn't play the Super Bowl. It almost makes perfect sense, right? And then somebody said, it was on a Facebook page, they said, the reason why Taylor Swift will never play the Super Bowl, especially now, is because there will be no football fans at that game. Like, think about how insane her tour was this year. Could you imagine all the Swifties would be out buying Super Bowl tickets, no matter how much they are, because they don't give a damn.
And some of those concert tickets are probably the same price as a Super Bowl ticket.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Yes. So you'll have a bunch of teeny boppers out there during the game and there'll be nothing happening. It'll be crazy. It would be some craziness. So yeah, I think I don't think she'll guest on there, especially with Usher and them. I don't know. Probably not. I can't imagine that would happen.
Well, I heard it was also a promotional thing. I think it was either Coke or Pepsi she sponsored or something like that. Maybe that was a long time ago. Maybe I don't know.
Oh well,
but maybe that was
inspired by Coke. And
yeah,
Pepsi always does the half times.
Yeah, she had a problem with Pepsi, but now they're Apple, so it's that's a moot point.
True.
So,
okay, fair enough.
Well, that's why everybody thought this would be the year because of her big
Right.
tour, because of all this. She's coming back. It's no longer Pepsi, but no, she was like, she just came right out and just said no. So
yeah, I think she's going to be. I don't think she's going to be in the States. I think she's going to start her overseas tour here soon, if not already.
Wow.
She'll be at the Super Bowl. There's no doubt she'll be at the
Think
Super Bowl.
so?
Oh God, right. If Travis Kelce is in the Super Bowl, she'll be there. Like there's
even if there's a concert scheduled for that night.
There probably isn't. I can't imagine there is.
No.
I mean, she'll be at the Super Bowl if the Chiefs make it.
I'd be shocked if she's not.
Do you think she has to pay for a ticket?
I don't think. I think she might buy a section for fans. How about that?
Yeah.
I think
she's that type of person.
Do. That's what I'm saying.
She is one of the most down rich people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think she's great. I mean, I've got no qualms about her. I think all this Taylor Swift and football stuff, I think it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
That's because people are haters. That's the basic problem. So,
yeah. So,
all right, guys. Sorry.
Right, guys, I will see y'all later, and I'll talk to y'all throughout the week about everything that's happening in music and sports. Bye, guys. Take care.